hours to Ondo governorship election, and voters anticipate the decision day as Channels Television and its crew on the ground brings you the robust coverage. And protests rock Nigeria's major cities as a campaign against Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad hit major towns in the country. Youths took to the streets. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today, a special edition of the program looking at the coverage of the Ondo governorship election as we are a few hours away. Welcome to Akura everyone, where Channels Television's crew is on the ground to give you all you need to know as regarding Ondo governorship election. The people of the state are anticipating the moment they will be able to elect the governor that will govern them for the next 4 years. Welcome on board as we take you through this 1 hour stretch of analysis and hearing from those key stakeholders that are in the know of what is happening in Ondo State. But first, let's give a sense of what happened. Fury that we saw in major cities of Nigeria is against SARS. The campaign against police brutality and extrajudicial killings continued today, with young Nigerians occupying the entrance of major institutions of government. For example, in Lagos, they took to the entrance of the Lagos House of Assembly complex. The protesters who spent the night at the entrance of the complex demanded a response from officials and politicians on how the special anti-robbery squad could be disbanded. Early in the morning, the youths assembled and chanted solidarity songs. Others continued with the slogan "EndSARS" as they demanded an audience from the lawmakers. The youths decried harassment encountered in the hands of SARS operatives, lamenting the rate at which many young creatives are being battered and killed by trigger-happy police officers.
The youth in Nigeria, we are saying enough is enough. We are saying we want to be heard. If all the youth in Nigeria die, who will be that future of tomorrow? I want to know. Who is that future of tomorrow that they always say? Who is the future? So now we are tired. Now we want to take responsibility. We have a government that is accountable to us. You cannot be watching while why police officers that are supposed to be protecting our lives are killing us day by day. And we keep making noise about it. The reason why I'm out here is because I'm scared.
This is what it is. We are operating on the 3 C principles: consultation, consolidation, and confrontation. So even when we are confronting, we will never forget the place of consultation. We need solution. And we have stated the 2 things why we are going in, why we need to meet them.
Well, and you heard some of those young Nigerians there. So let's take away from that and focus now on the major agenda on the table tonight, and that is the Ondo governorship election. The agenda of how the people of the state, about 1.4 million of them, that will go to the polls tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. to vote for the governor. Let's give you a sense of some of the statistics and the fact sheets of this election that you need to know. First and foremost, we can tell you that, of course, Ondo State, as you know, southwest Nigeria, it's about 6,000 square meters of land area and a polling unit of 3,009. There are about over 1.8 million registered voters, but out of that, only 1,478,460, that's it, 1%, have their voter cards, leaving over 300,000 permanent voter cards uncollected. There are 3 senatorial districts in Ondo State, and of course 18 local government area, which brings us to whoever will win the election will not only have the highest votes, but also must have 2/3 of the 18 local government areas. That permutations will begin after the election is over, I guess. But a few other issues that you need to know is the fact that there is already curfew in town in Ondo State from midnight, 11:59 of today, precisely, let's just say midnight of Saturday up until 6 p.m. And let me give you a sense of what the IG of police said. He said, and I quote, he said, the IGP reiterates that the vehicular restriction order, among other things, is aimed at preventing political actors and troublemakers from freely engaging in unpatriotic acts, circulation and use of illicit arms and hard drugs, movement of political thugs from contiguous states to Ondo State, and disruption of the electoral processes, etc., which are inimical to the dictates of the electoral law. Those are the reasons why the IG is imposing what may be now a familiar scenario as far as elections are concerned in Nigeria. So let's talk about the security of this election and how this will happen. We'll analyze further and much more. But let's talk to the man whom the IG said should be in charge of this exercise. He did it in Edo. Can he perform that same magic, which a lot of people say the police and INEC did a good job in Edo, but this time around, all eyes are on the security agencies to ensure safety of the process. I'm being joined by the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of planning at the police, but is in charge of this election is Mr. Oyeleye Oyebade. Thank you so much, DIG, for coming tonight on the program.
Thank you.
I asked you earlier when we spoke with you how ready the police is for this election. But has anything changed from the early hours of today when we spoke to you and now?
You should know that crime is dynamic. And so we plan ahead for us to be able to get excellent results. So we are also not relenting. We are not resting on our oars. We are, upgrading our tactics and reviewing all the strategies to be able to achieve the desired goal. But I will be able to tell you that we have enough men on ground, trained, and well-equipped. We have put the strategy that will work. That is just to put it in a simple form. And the strategy is to encourage voters to come out and exercise their franchise. We want them to come out in their large numbers because we have provided adequate security arrangement that is going to make everybody comfortable to come out without any fear of being molested. So we want to just reiterate the guidelines that have been, we've spoken about it times without number. The guidelines are the very important key and germane area of this election that takes a lot of people out of their senses sometimes, and then we have some challenges. I'll go about some of those guidelines again. Within the perimeter of the fencing, there should be no canvassing for votes. There should be no wearing of vests. There should be a lot of decorum that need to be taken there that will help us to have a conducive atmosphere. And after that, the movement, because you remember vividly our statutory responsibility is protection of INEC materials, INEC officials, including all the local observers and the electorates. They are not exempted. So for now, we have taken care of the materials to some extent. The men that are coming out to vote are the ones that we are talking to now. We ask that they should conduct themselves so that we have an arrangement that will take everybody to the next level and we all go to say we have done it very well this time around.
All right, let's look at deployment from the figures that we have. Maybe we can just let our viewers know what these deployments look like. For this election, we have conventional police force, about over 30,000 of them. Special agents, about 2,850 of them. Other security formations, 3,500. Military are supposed to man the borders. Total personnel is about 35 or 34,000 personnel, security agencies. Right. Is it the same thing or similar thing that you had in Edo?
You see, the topography is not the same. The level of preparedness is higher this time around, I must tell you. We have gotten all information needed. We are only implementing the strategy, and we believe it's going to work. And let me quickly say this. The topography here is such that we have to take a very critical look at the waterways. And that is a critical area we are looking at to ensure that the whole of the waterways are well covered to forestall any breakdown of law and order or the bad boys coming to infiltrate the system from that axis. We have the area surveillance that we have done and is ongoing as I speak with you. We have complements of our helicopters that are doing all of that. But more importantly, the arrangement that is already in place, I'm telling you that we have our men on ground who are even going to be at the polling booths. They should also liaise with us if there are challenges they are facing on the field. And that's why we have circulated some dedicated numbers. Those numbers are very important to us. And that is practical community policing. The last time we did it, it gave us a lot of
Which are these
information.
Numbers?
These numbers.
Can you read these numbers
right,
out?
I'll give out the numbers because people should be able to get back to us to know what is really happening on the field. So these numbers are 070-499-60674 and 091-52-784-339. These two numbers, we have circulated them during the press conference. We have disseminated information through our radio and other television stations and National Orientation Agency for everybody to have these numbers so that if there are issues on the ground, because the police cannot be all over the places, let them get back to us. And if they can record and send message to us through WhatsApp, they can equally reach us on 070-499-36417. 070-499-36417.
I thought the police would have a short code.
We will get there very soon, very soon.
Because, getting all these numbers, but I know that a lot of people have gotten grasp that so that they can make those calls. DIG, let's go into a very critical matter now. Civil society organizations have come up with some areas that you need to look into, and they've identified potential hotbeds for this election based on what has happened and what we have seen. Akoko Southwest, Akure South, Akure North, Akoko Southeast, Akoko Northwest, Irele, Idonre, Eseodo, Okitupupa, Ilaje, Owo. These are some of the areas that have been identified as potential hotbeds ahead of tomorrow. For the people who are watching now and are in these communities, what can you tell them that will give them the confidence of coming out? Because they have said there are possibilities of violence in these areas.
The presence of police and other security agencies is enough reassurance for everybody to know that we mean business. And I say it and I mean it. We have our own threat analysis also. We have analyzed that which they are saying. We have those that we are also thinking are the problem guys that we have started picking. And we have doused the tension. Immediately the signing of that pact was done, you realize that the whole area has been mopped up. What we are saying is that let people come out. Don't let us overemphasize the areas that we are expecting problems. The challenges are there, but we are up to the task.
Because the question people will ask, DIG, is the fact that the violence that we have seen before now, what have you done? How many people have been prosecuted? How many people are in your custody? How many people have been released? So those who have been caught for bad behaviors, going into this election, the confidence will come from what you have done on those areas.
Even from Sunday, even before my coming here, we still have some interaction with the from political party gladiators. You see, what is important now, let me quickly say this. People are getting to know that it's better for them to dialogue than to get into the net, because you will be there and all this will become history. And that's why we even have to ask men to ensure that they get to those polling booths with their masks. That is important, because we want to see them in another 4 years. We are going to make sure that we enforce social distancing so that we can maintain that dignity that we did in that.
You'll be able to achieve that this time around, because the police and INEC had problems in that area.
No, we have gotten some covert officers that are not going to be in uniform, and they have their tags. They are specifically designated to ensure that all these guidelines are followed up to letters.
But you've not still told us how many people are on your net right now relating to violence issue.
There's no need, given the figure.
But you have people in your net.
We have. Let me tell you one thing. When it comes to prosecution, we have all the legal instruments and evidential requirements that we use to do diligent prosecution. That is why we are ringing it to their bell, to their ears, that all these restrictions, the restriction is there. Nobody is allowed to move from one polling booth to another. If you have finished voting, you go home, or you can stay within that perimeter, not conducting yourself in a manner to cause a breach of the peace. So I'm only saying that we are ready. Those that are planning to disrupt, they have to contend with us. We have our special forces. We have the counter-terrorism team. We have the area surveillance that we have mapped out for some critical areas. And those that we are tracking, we will invite them for questioning.
So you have trackers now?
We have. Our technical platform is solid.
It's computerized.
And that is why
do you have drones? Do you have cameras around the city?
We will not show everything, showcase everything.
No, I'm asking if you have them. Because people don't put CCTV cameras just to watch. They put it, and even criminals, they let them know that we have CCTV cameras, so that it serves as deterrent to those who want to come in. So if people know that these things are in place, it might help your work.
By our show of strength, by the trackers, by those that we have picked, by the number of policemen that are going to be posted on ground, because we are going to have nothing less than 3 officers. That's police officer, to be complemented by other security agencies in the real arena. Whereas we have at the outer space some other security agents that will be watching, apart from the cordoning of the whole state. If the restriction order is timing is up, we will restrict movement. So we are ready.
All right. So another very important area is the issue of vote buying. And critical stakeholders have said, look, this is still happening. INEC cannot arrest vote buyers or vote sellers. It's the police. It still comes on your lap. What have you done specially for this? Or you don't have any plans for vote buyers?
We have our operatives also on ground. It's technical. Because, you see, somebody can tell you, no, it's not like that. So we need to be very sure. When you are catching a thief, you hold the person here, it's going to drop. You make sure you arrest and you have enough evidence to make the prosecution seamlessly diligent. That's why we have put our men operatives that are on covert. They will not be in uniform. And so when the discussion is all going and is already recorded and you cannot deny it, and there are chances that you have already given some details about yourself and what the guy is going to do, then at that point, you can be picked up. So I will tell our electorate to just play according to the guidelines that have been given. Vote buying, we are going to be very, very serious about it. We are going to arrest and we are going to prosecute by handing over.
And you mean it?
We are very serious about it.
You are not just, they're not saying police is just backing, they cannot bite.
Now, by the time we make arrests and we make the publicity to, we give it the widest publicity that it deserves, people will know that we are serious. We have all the gadgets to track them. We have some that are already talking and we are following them up. So it's It's a game that
we're going to hold you to your words, Mr. Oyebade. I've known you for years now, but I know that you are that kind of man that you don't say what you don't mean.
That is.
Let's go now.
Right.
We need to go on a break. And before I allow you to go, tell Nigerians and tell the people of Ondo State, you told me that you are going to do better than Edo. Is that true?
Right. Let me say it very loud and clear. This election is going to be one of the best of elections in recent times. We have agreed not only with other security agencies, with INEC, with all other critical stakeholders. And that's why that signing, that pact sign is another critical area. And I told them they will be held responsible and they must be accountable. On our part, we have all that it takes. We have trained our men. We have all the facilities on ground. And our men are dedicated, and we are going to do it with the commitment that it deserves.
All right. Layo Oyebade, DIG, Research and Planning at the Police Force, of course, is in charge of the Ondo governorship election. I wish you the very best. We're very much concerned about the issue of security, and that's why we had to give you this much time to be able to talk about it.
It is a task that must be done.
Thank you so much, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
We're going to break. And when we come back, we're not done yet about governorship election. We promise you that we'll give you into every area that you need to know so that you can take the right decision ahead of tomorrow. If you are not voting, so that you will be in the know. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the special edition of Politics Today, looking critically at the Ondo governorship election. And I'll have a panel here. I'm being joined by INEC National Commissioner, of course, who is in charge of this Ondo governorship election, Dr. Ademola Ogunmola. Thank you so much for coming to our studio here in Akure. And the director of CDD, Mr. Dayat Hassan, thank you so much for coming tonight. Let me begin perhaps from Mr. Hassan. Do you think INEC is ready? Because Dr. Ogunmola is here.
I think sincerely...
Be frank tonight.
No, actually, sincerely, so far so good. They seem so ready. By 12 noon, most of the materials are actually being moved. Even as far as SLDO, they are already there. Since I've been seated, I've been receiving reports from all the 18 local governments. And these are not just reports from mere observers, but from journalists like yourself who are very, very adept in terms of analysis. So the way they are going, I hope that by tomorrow they would be able to ensure that all materials are early by 7 o'clock at the polling unit.
Because what happened in Edo, I remember you were in the studio like this and we were talking about the preparations of INEC. You had some issues in the post-election analysis that we did. Do you think those loopholes have been plugged right now?
I think that some of those loopholes seem to be plugged. You know, for example, for materials, since yesterday they've been moving it from the CBN. Today at the racks, I've also gone around myself. Every other election.
Well, I mean, whatever happened in Edo, that they had those glitches.
So,
you know?
But so far, at times by now they will just be moving it. So that's the difference. There is a difference. So this is 7 o'clock. Maybe it's at 7 o'clock they will be sharing most of those sensitive materials. But as at this afternoon, they've started sharing sensitive materials, not just non-sensitive materials. So they seem to look to be ready.
Okay, maybe there's a lot of lessons that they've taken away from Edo.
And I think maybe they are putting a lot of effort in these elections also because this is just not an election where all eyes is actually on INEC. All eyes is actually on the police. After the Edo elections. So everybody is interested. And I think that the citizens of these states are also deserving of that, actively mobilizing. So this is an election that I've seen reports of women, wife of the chiefs, youth, going from house to house in some of those local governments which we have actually identified as risk-prone and trying to sensitize people to shun all forms of violence and instead go out to exercise their franchise. And like in our own pre-election analysis yesterday, we were very emphatic that all INEC can actually do is to reward the confidence the citizens have in them. Even some of these political actors until yesterday has gotten them where they've not been enmeshed in scandal with proper logistics deployment tomorrow.
Let's ask Dr. Ogumala. I wanted to start this segment by you listening to some of the observers who are leading. She's leading a number of observers on the ground. You've heard from her. You are the most senior national commissioner on the ground with some other resident electoral commissioners. So far, some of the headaches that we've seen INEC have in elections, have you fixed those?
Well, you see, as is customary with INEC, what we do is that we learn from every election. For instance, the Edo election had some imperfections which were factored into our own preparation for this election.
For example, what's that?
Well, on the general note, we knew that in Edo, the issue of social distancing was not observed, and that is why we want this time around to enforce it. And like, it's not only INEC, but also the security agents that will be at the polling units. But as for us, there are two queues, the outer queue and the inner queue. So we want to ensure that the inner queue we are able to maintain social distancing, right? Quite apart from the other protocol of the PTF that must be observed. That is one aspect. Then the second aspect, which is similar to what she said earlier, is the early deployment to the various racks. Right, that will guarantee that.
What is the situation report from the racks now? From the last time you, especially the riverine areas, Ilaje, Ondo, Igbokoda, and all those areas.
For Ondo, the riverine areas are both PUs on land and PUs in the riverine area. Those ones on land, people have reached all the racks. But with regard to the riverine areas, most of them are still on water, about to get to their various destinations. And that was what prompted us to start with Elijah and Ondo in the distribution of materials yesterday, so that early this morning, they were able to move to Igbokoda for Elijah. And from there, they moved to the jetty with the support of the Nigerian Navy that supported them with gunboats to protect them on the water. So we are very sure that about now, they must have reached their destination.
Okay, so another area that a lot of people have troubles with, especially in Edo, we saw a few of these happen. Polls open very late. And it does look like some of the ad hoc officials had no idea of what to do. Some of them perhaps were not, training issues might be a problem. Did you identify these also?
Oh yes, we did. And we've tried to find a way of ameliorating such problems in this election. And we have trained our ad hoc staff more than before, quite apart from the fact that some of them have experience on the job. Apart from the regular training, this evening at the racks, they will also do some training, at least the final one, before they go to the field.
So what about the issue of the tablets that we have? Just a moment before we go into that, I understand that my colleague, Darid, who is on the field at some part of the city, looking at security situation and the atmosphere. Dari, what can you tell us where you are?
Thank you very much, Sheon. I'm at Alagbaka. You know where Alagbaka is in Akure, and that is the seat of power. It is also the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Alagbaka is going to be buzzing in the next couple of hours, and this is why by the time people are done voting tomorrow, all activities, actions will be diverted to this side of the city. And if you can look right behind me, you can see the barricade just a few meters away. That is where the INEC office is, and the security around here is watertight. A lot of security agencies, you can see them, they walk around here. Also, we can see firemen on standby as well. It is usual practice at the eve of the election, just like this. There's always that particular activities around the INEC office. But away from the INEC office, we were on the street today. We went round town and we felt the pulse of the city. We wanted to know how people are looking forward to this election. A lot of the people we spoke to, they have concerns, but pretty much their concerns are in two folds. They said by the time they go to the polling unit tomorrow, they want to see a process free, fair, credible, and inclusive as well. They said they are ready to vote, especially if the security agencies can assure them that they are secure when they get to the polling unit or wherever they decide to vote tomorrow. Aside that, they said after the voting, there's another concern. Whoever becomes the governor, they want all those expectations, all the promises that they got during the campaigns. They want whoever becomes the governor to fulfill those promises. And aside that, INEC has been speaking as well. We've got a whole lot happening today. The civil society organizations, all week they've been talking. Today they briefed as well ahead of the election. Everyone is looking at this state, Ondo State, to see how everything will pan out tomorrow, Sheon.
Our correspondent there for you, Daredo, giving us an update of what is happening around town. You get more of those kind of reports tomorrow on situation and for the coverage of this election, how INEC is doing and how the voters are turning up for the election. Before we spoke with, before that report from Dare, I was going to ask the INEC National Commissioner about the notepad, the Z-pad. From what there was a portal last time where those results, you collected the result from Edo. Have you opened the portal for the Ondo election?
Well, it will not be opened now until tomorrow because people can only access it when results start coming in from the PUs. Because the Z-pad is supposed to upload the results to the INEC result portal where people can now view the results. And you see, that's another way of ensuring that INEC is transparent in our operations, because by the time results are announced at the polling units, like I used to tell people, that is more or less the end of the election.
Because it brings me, yes, just before I allow Idaya to come in, it brings me to the allegation that you should change your chief returning officer. Have you changed the chief returning officer?
Well, one thing you need to know is that politicians will always find reasons to complain. Honestly, I, as a national commissioner, I don't know the returning officer for this election.
You've not met him or you don't know his name?
I don't know his name.
But they say it's Professor Ogunbodede.
I'm telling you that honestly.
You're hearing as a breaking news right here.
No, honestly.
Are you being serious with us right now?
Honestly.
Oh, really?
I'm serious.
So who knows the person?
But you know, the problem is people have a way, maybe I can call it disinformation strategy, right? Where they come up with a name that they feel if they pick this one, it may not work for them, so they throw the name up for people to buy in and effect a change.
But are you saying that Professor Ogunbodede is not the chief returning officer?
Well, I'm not sure. Honestly.
Let me bring it in here. The allegations that, look, there is a relationship between the chief returning officer and a politician or a candidate. That allegation, what do you make of that allegation and what they are asking INEC to do? They say INEC should replace the person. Do you think INEC should do that?
I think that the allegations are unfounded. They are just preemptory kind of attack. And unfortunately, it started since Wednesday of this week. So less than 72 hours into the elections, we started getting a lot of preemptive attack. And I think it's a form of strategy by the political class to unnecessarily eat up the polity, which is counterproductive to them because it invokes voter apathy in itself. We are trying to say that the processes might not actually matter, thereby delegitimizing an outcome which you can actually benefit from.
But does it take away the fact that people cannot have genuine concern about the process? Because the process is not about the umpire alone. In a football situation, you have one side, you have the other side, and the umpire is in the middle. There are players who will protest and say, I will not be unfairly treated, I've been injured, I've been tackled wrongly. Is it just to say when...
There will always be protests. But the truth of the matter is also take an historical analysis and say, this so-called Professor Ogunbodede is from Owo, as we have rightly told. But in previous elections, have we had an instance of INEC bringing an indigene of a state to be the returning officer? Even here in the Southwest, aside from the supervising commissioner, national commissioner, all the visiting recs are not from the Southwest. It's a policy, it's a practice. So you are not going to find the rec of Lagos, the rec of Ekiti.
Should the chief returning officer truly be Professor Ogunbodede?
It should not be, since they've already casted aspersion on the person of Professor Ogunbodede. So, of course, it will not be Professor Ogunbodede because it's about trust, it's about system, and I know INEC will do no such thing, even if they had planned to.
All right, so let me bring the issue of the ZPAD into the conversation now, because you monitored, you saw what happened about the situation of the ZPAD. How strong or how weak do you think that device is in the process?
I think that it's a very necessary device. It had credibility to the process, and it is one of the best things INEC has done so far in terms of bringing credibility. And it's very important in these elections because there are fears that in all those riverine areas, in previous elections, in Ilaje, Ondo, all those places, the results come in lastly. So with the adoption of the ZPAD and the viewing platform, it means that if they timeously upload the results, not like Edo elections, whereby we had less of those results, priorities should be given to those areas of the state so that all fears are completely assuaged and we know that there cannot be any tampering with results.
But I mean, you are one of those who criticize the way the portal looks like in terms of how the format in which INEC was put. It's pretty difficult for anybody in this time and age where we are at in terms of information technology, that the process and the modality INEC is putting those results. If INEC does not change that, I mean, is it helpful?
It's helpful. Half-bread is better than...
Have you changed the format?
No.
You have not changed the format. So we are going to still be with that headache of trying to open it one after the other.
You say half-bread is better than nothing. And it does not mean that we are not downloading all those. By Sunday, we had already downloaded and people are already doing the analysis. But they have to improve better in such a way that it can be calculating immediately and people can see it.
All right, Idayat Atsan, the country director of CDD, thank you so much for your time tonight. I will detain and retain Dr. Ogumola for a moment. Just for a way to go on a break. And when we come back, we are looking into broader perspectives on some of the issues that are on the table, concerns ahead of tomorrow. Let's straighten them up and straighten them out. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We are fully prepared for this election, and we hope everything will go on smoothly, just as we want. So And let me say my advice for people of Ondo State to please come out and vote wisely. They should vote for the candidate of their choice, not to be constituting nuisance by, let me say, fighting each other over political issues. But I just want us to come out and vote, and everybody should just go back to their home in a peaceful way.
I'm ready for voting now. If they want to come, they want to cast vote today now, I'm ready. Because of tomorrow, I'm ready. I'm preparing for myself. Even most of them living in Adokiti, for those everybody have came into Akure now yesterday. We are ready. We are in Akure yesterday to cast our vote. So, and we are ready for whatever want to happen.
Our appeal to them is that we don't want any violence. And we appeal to them that when they are voting, everybody should go back to their own restaurant. So we don't want any violence by the grace of God, and we pray that there will not be violence.
INEC is the statutory body that is saddled with managing elections in Nigeria, but as the saying goes, you cannot lift a heavy burden with one hand. So to that extent, each and every one of us is a member of INEC in supporting this process. We are all INEC members and we are all NPC members. So I once again would like to commend and congratulate the people of Ondo State. In the last few weeks, since the elections in Edo, there's been quite a lot of noticeable appreciation, and we're told that Edo set a gold standard. But if I remember, the chairman of INEC has already said that Ondo, and I believe the good people of Ondo, will do better and surpass what happened in Edo. And this is what will provide the building blocks of confidence for our people.
Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome back. Mr. Kelechi Madu is the DCG operations at the NSCDC, Nigeria Civil Defense Corps, and he's since joined the party, as well as, of course, we've been speaking with Dr. Ademalo Gumala, INEC Supervising National Commissioner for this election. Thank you, Mr. Madu, for joining us again. It's good to see you again. You were in Edo. You were one of the success stories of Edo State, and you're here again in Ondo to replicate, I guess, what you did there in Edo State, isn't it?
Certainly.
What are you correcting this time around? Or what are you bringing to the table differently?
The different thing we are bringing, you asked me a question in Ondo, whether people are really following the NSCDC protocol against the pandemic we have in Nigeria today. And I was telling you that we continue to preach to people. So since we were reprimanded when we got to our headquarters for not really stopping people entering the polling stations or polling units without putting on face masks. The DIG equally a good same. So we are changing this time to be there on time and stop people that don't put on their face mask.
So you are going to be strict on this one. No face mask, no voting.
That's what we were told.
That's the policy now.
That's what we were told. Even NCDC, before we came, trained our men on also how to maintain social distancing. And I think we believe the people should cooperate with us, and it is health for everybody. You have to be healthy first. You have to be alive first before you can think of winning any election or having somebody to support.
You realize that in most of the polling units, there are no barricades, there are no fences. Some of them are just open grounds. How do you want to stop people who are coming from every angle?
We can do that. We can do that.
You're not supposed to carry arms within the perimeter of the polling unit.
This uniform is enough to tell somebody that somebody will come to you.
I'm just wondering.
Somebody can come to you, whisper to your eyes, to your ears to step out. Go get a face mask. You must not use force. If you talk to a human being, he can follow you to go and put on one.
Dr. Ogumala, these are things that you have agreed at the highest level when you were having these meetings, and you think that people may be at the danger of being disenfranchised?
Well, the issue is very simple, because it's not a customized face mask that you are supposed to use. Handkerchief can be used as face mask.
Exactly.
Just face covering?
Yes, something like that. So it's as simple as that, right? And immediately the pandemic started, the Commission came up with a policy document on conducting elections in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which contained all the protocols. And we compared that with the NSCDC protocol. Where there were differences, we tried to match the two. So that is what we operate now. And it was unfortunate that some of the people that went to vote in Edo did not use the face mask. And that is why we want to make it compulsory this time around.
But let me come to Mr. Madu. NSCDC is charged with taking care of federal and state assets and in Ondo State. What are those assets that you are concerned with and you're going to be having your eyes on?
Even the forest reserves, they are critical national assets. Look at the telephone masts, all the public utilities. These are where we post our men. We even have more men posted to protect critical national assets than supervising the election. Because if any is harmed, it will really affect the economy of the country, which will affect everybody.
Because Ondo State is an oil-producing state.
Exactly.
How many of your men do you have in the Ondo South, where you have the oil-producing community?
That's where we have more. Half of the number we brought here, 7,079 men, are in that area. And, you know, the pipelines are being vandalized here and there. And of recent, you can see that it's going down. The rate is going down because our men are on them. Our men are on them, and we are really prosecuting vandals. And in Ondo have a story to tell. Even when I was here as the commandant of the state 10 years ago, I was after them. When I came around, they said, this man has come again. Because I went around that area to see my boys as deployed.
A very notorious area. I'm talking about the creeks and the waterways. Are you prepared for that? You're familiar with that terrain, but it could be very difficult and dangerous sometimes on the waters, especially for those criminally minded people who are very familiar with water and they can do and undo, so to say, in that region. Are you prepared for that?
You know, those people, they have been living inside the waters for years. And let's give kudos to Nigerian Navy. Nigerian Navy has been of tremendous help. They come to our aid each time we send information to them and even take our men. And we just recently started the NSCDC Marine Department. And our men are being trained by the Navy in Lagos. You know, some of them went to Lagos 2 months ago. We are
so
trained.
You are equipped for this.
Yes, that's what we
Because, I mean, from my experience of covering elections,
yes,
it is the moment, you know, they will have to take the materials across the water. It is that time that the attacks come at night, you know, after collation, when you have to transport. Because, like you said, there are some PUs that are on water, but the collation area centers are across the water. So that's a very critical time. It's going to be in the night. Are there going to be watch lights across the waters to ensure that safety of this material?
I said earlier, let's give kudos to our Nigerian Navy. They have been of tremendous help, and they are into chasing the vandals too. They chase the vandals. At times, they help with their speedboats because they have better equipment than other
transportation
agencies.
on water too, as
through the Navy and
there is coffee also on the transportation of water.
It's part of Ondo.
Okay. Let me come to Dr. Ogumala. In all of this that we're saying, INEC is at the driver's seat, and I know that you have your hands full between now and tomorrow. But if you look at what is happening generally across the world, there seems to be that lethargy of voters going out. You see 35% voter turnout. Voter apathy has become a major problem. Are you afraid that this time around, Ondo State has not have more than 40% of voter turnout?
Well, I think the dramatic personnel will likely bring about an improvement in the percentage turnout, quite apart from the publicity that has been given to this election and the assurance that has been given to the voters that they will be safe, there will be no problem on election day. And that, to my mind, will give encouragement to them. We've been doing a lot in terms of enlightenment. The INEC youth ambassadors have equally come up with a song that gives encouragement to the youth to come out and vote. So we're optimistic that this time around there's going to be an improvement in the voter turnout.
1.4 million or thereabout will be able to vote. Those are the people who PVCs. Yes. But this time around, a lot of people are saying the stress in getting registered is too much. Are you looking in the way of changing things so that people can have ease? As soon as you turn 18, shouldn't people be able to walk to a center and get registered? It should be just a natural course. As soon as you turn 18 and you are voting age, it should be easy.
The current procedure has an history. When it started, it was supposed to last for 2 elections. I mean, these PVCs, with the hope that the NIMC will have succeeded in getting Nigerians registered, so that we just adopt the South African method. Because once you have your registration, it means it will contain everything about you, including the date of birth. And as you turn 18, you just approach INEC that you want to become a voter, which is as simple as that. And it will require you just walking into.
So it's not INEC that is delaying now. We're looking at the national.
Yes, we are looking at
the measure of.
NIMC.
So let's wrap up the conversation now, Mr. Madu. For a lot of people who had fears about the issue, because we saw pockets of violence in prior to these day that we're talking in the past weeks, clashes between politicians in some of these areas that we've highlighted that raise concerns. What are you doing to ensure, to assist the police and other security agencies to ensure that violence does not erupt in those areas?
I don't want to say what we had in Edo was magic, because everybody was foreseeing violence, but it didn't happen. Ondo people are peaceful people. But this time we have brought in specialized groups, because the black spots we have even identified that we're sharing with other sister security agencies. We have gone to do what we call sweeping of those areas. And when we did a show of force today, when the DIG called my commandant and he informed me that everybody should join in the show of force, I think we have sent the proper message to them.
But the show of force was only in Akure. You didn't do it into some of these trouble spots.
Yes, most of them watched on television, because we are not going to deploy to Akure alone. We're going to deploy around the state. And we are deploying more men in the southern part of
The state.
Ondo.
Okay.
Yes.
I must sincerely thank both of you for coming. Dr. Ademola Ogumala, we'll be seeing more of you as well as Mr. Madu, and wish you, because you're critical stakeholders in this election, I wish you the very best. And of course, the voters tomorrow will be coming out. I'm encouraging everyone to come out. If you are in Ondo State and you are a voter, come out tomorrow and vote. But that's how we leave it tonight, everyone. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. But that's our show. Bye-bye, everyone.